And that's the best thing to hear as a teacher is that that parent, they might have a question or they might question you on things, but they're going to say, hey, we defend you and we love you and we just want to be on the side with you.
Welcome to the BJU Press Teacher Edition podcast, where Christian educators are encouraged and inspired as we bring you interviews, practical ideas, strategies, and answer your questions about teaching in today's culture. And here's your host, Jenny Copeland.
It's summertime, and teachers everywhere are likely starting to think at least a little bit about school, maybe about their class, their prep. I know for me, it seemed like school supplies arriving in the stores were kind of my first hint that school was coming, it was on the horizon. For some of you, you are returning for another year. You've been at this a while. Your unknowns are a little different from another group of educators who are facing their first year in the classroom, or maybe even their second year. That brings such an excitement, but also some nervousness as you lead a classroom all by yourself for the first time, or maybe just for the second time. Today, we're going to talk about that experience. So whether that is you facing your first few years of teaching, or maybe you're a veteran teacher who has colleagues who are just starting out for the first time, this episode has something for you. I think you're going to really enjoy today's conversation. But just before we jump in, let me again thank you for making Teacher Edition Podcast a part of your week. I love talking education. I love being with educators, and I hope you enjoy these episodes with our guests just as much as I do. Of course, I can't start an episode without reminding you to check out our website, teachereditionpodcast.com. We have great information there. It's a place to subscribe to our newsletters, a place where you can leave questions. And I know each of you is so busy. Of course, you are educators, but it's summertime. Most of you are not dashing off to a class or trying to feverishly grade papers. This is your time. Reach out and leave a question for us. It will help you, and it will help thousands of our other listeners who listen in each week. Just go do it. For those of you who are on social media, just a reminder, you can find us on Facebook as Teacher Edition Podcast. You can also find us on Instagram and TikTok at Teacher Edition Pod. And don't forget about YouTube, where we are Teacher Edition Podcast. Okay, so we are talking today about those early years as a teacher. For those of you who have been an educator for a while, take a minute. I want you to think back to those days, how you felt, what you were excited about, what terrified you, the unique experiences you had, just so many things to think about from those first few years. I wish we could all get in a room and share those stories. That would really be a blast. But since we can't do that, I believe I have the next best thing for you today. I am so excited to have Cassidy Harwood joining us today. So I met Cassidy when she was in college, and I've had the privilege of watching her grow in her journey as an educator. So she's from Asheville, North Carolina, and she came to know the Lord at the age of 5. As a university student, she worked as a student worker working with elementary school students. She then went on to earn a bachelor's degree in education in 2019 and then became a K-5 teacher at Calvary Christian School in Greer, South Carolina. Cassidy is also active at her church, where she works with middle school and high school girls. She loves shopping and time with her friends and family. And like all good teachers, she loves catching up on sleep, but we know that that's pretty rare for educators. She is currently in year 5 of teaching, and I just always enjoy running into Cassidy and hearing what is happening in her classroom and how her year has gone. I thought it'd be really fun for Cassidy to share her experiences as she has launched out into being a Christian school educator. I'm guessing that many of you will empathize with Cassidy and at other times laugh, knowing that we have all experienced these same things. Becoming an educator is quite the ride. Well, being an educator is quite the ride. Cassidy, it is so great to have you here with us today. Welcome to the Teacher Edition Podcast.
Hi, thank you so much. It is so good to be here. I'm so honored and privileged to do this. I'm very excited because I'm very passionate about all things teaching, and I'm just so honored to be here.
Well, we are glad you're here. So start us off, Cassidy, by telling us a little bit about how you became a teacher. So was there someone who influenced you, or was there something that really made you want to be a teacher? Where did it start?
Right. My family has always been in Christian education, and my dad has been a teacher for 35 years. My mom has worked with us all our life. And so I always watch them be the perfect models, not perfect, just always trying their best for Jesus and for the students. And I was just amazed. And I said, man, I just want to shape young lives like they are. I also had an amazing kindergarten teacher, Miss Carter, and since basically 5, 6, 7, I was like, "I'm gonna be a teacher." So those were the key people, my mom, my dad, and my kindergarten teacher, who really just helped me along the way, who started me going to be a teacher.
Okay, so I'm hearing a lot of fives there. I kind of find that interesting. So
Yeah.
you were saved at 5, you had a great K-5 teacher, now you teach K.
Yes.
Okay, that's really interesting to me. Okay, so let's talk
Yes.
about those first years of teaching. We'll get into some specifics later in the episode. But how would you generally describe your first year of teaching? So everyone has different experiences. What was yours?
My first year was it was super overwhelming at first, and then I kind of just dove in, and I was like, "Wow, this is where the Lord wants me. This is what he has for me to do," and I absolutely loved my first year. I had 15 students, and I had no assistant or anything, and so I was just thrown right into it, and I learned so much, but my my word was I was very overwhelmed the first 3 months, but I had also been such prepared from Bob Jones University that I had learned so much from my mentors and other people that just helped me become a better teacher. But my first year was a little crazy. I still remember my students, they're now in 4th grade. So I see them in the hallways sometimes and they're like, "Miss H, can we come back to K-5?" I'm like, "No, your brain's too smart now." So my first year was awesome. I loved it, but I learned a lot because some things was thrown my way and some ways weren't. And with parents and new challenges and new kids coming in, and then the COVID year happened. So it was a lot, but I absolutely loved it.
That's great. Was COVID your first year of teaching?
No, ma'am. It was my
Oh.
second year.
Oh, good.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
probably why you came back,
Yes.
right? I
Yeah.
always think about those first year teachers during the year of COVID, like, they still had no idea what a first year was like, because that was horrible whether you taught 50 years or 1 year, that was crazy. So what would you say about your first year? Was it what you expected? So we all get this ideal in our head of what it's gonna be like to be a teacher in our own classroom. Would you say it was as you expected, or what would you say was unexpected, or what did you find to be a surprise?
Right. It was very expected. Like I said, I was very prepared for it, and I had come early in the summer to prepare and meet with the kindergarten teacher who was retiring. So she helped me a lot and just showed me the
Nice.
curriculum. And so I was prepared in the aspect of I love to go all out. I was ready for like the rewards, the pom-poms, the little manipulatives, everything I could do, the Kahoot, the games, and the curriculum. So I was like, I got this. What was unexpected is when you come in, you don't know these students. You don't know their parents. You don't know
True.
anything. So I had 15 students with 15 different learning styles and how they should learn. And so I had the ones that would never want to test my buttons. And then I had the ones who would love to push every single one of my buttons. So I learned a lot of patience that year. Looking back on that year and when I'm in year 5 now and year 1, I was like, wow, I have grown a lot because I was like, I really didn't know what I know now and what I have learned through going to different organizations and different meetings and different things that I have been through, that I was like, wow, my first year was crazy, but I was so thankful for it because now I can just take a breath and a pause and be like, oh, you don't have to do everything on your list every single day. It's not going to get done. But I enjoyed my first year. My students were amazing and my parents were amazing. I still talk to some of them now. And so I really enjoyed it. It was a blessing. It was crazy, but it was a blessing.
So what would you say I guess reflecting back, what would you say was your biggest challenge as you got started as a teacher? What do you think it was?
My biggest challenge coming coming in as a teacher is the first it was for me, it was the pressure. I put a lot of pressure on myself just to make sure I was doing everything in the box.
Sure.
And then by 3:30 I was completely drained. And I was like, why am I so drained and I'm so young at 22, 23? And that was my biggest downfall was I just came in and I was like, okay, do this, do this, this. And then I would be like, oh man, I didn't get this done or this done. And I would realize quickly, I don't need to get every single thing done on my list every single day because you feel like you're on a racetrack. You're on a time
Oh,
clock
absolutely.
everything's timed. So you're like, oh my goodness, am I going to get here? I have to get here. Lunch is at this, recess, music class, art class, ELA, everything is every extra thing. So that was my biggest thing when coming into my first year is I just didn't take a break or a pause. I just would go. And now even with in my second, third, fourth, fifth year, I love breaks. I love pauses. I love to get the kids just up and be like, okay, we're just gonna do 5 jumping jacks. We're just gonna run around the room for a hot second and have a little fun time. My first year, I think I was too much of a sergeant sometimes and too much on by the book. And it wasn't that I was being too hard on them. I think I was just too hard on myself.
Okay, so we often laugh or maybe cry about those first years, but what would you say? So we talked about some of the challenges, we talked about some of the unexpected things, but what would you say are some of your very best memories of your first years of teaching?
Oh, a lot of my I have so many best years and so many best memories of I think all my years, or I'm like, "Oh, I have so many great years." But there my second year, I had 23 students, and I had no assistant, no helpers, and my class size is smaller, so I could only fit 15 and comfortably. So we had a new principal, and he just kind of kept throwing them in, and he's like, "Oh, Miss H, you can handle it, you can do it." And I was like, "This is my second year, and my first year was awesome." And so that year, I think I learned, or I know I learned the most, and those were some of the best memories with my kids that are now in third grade and second grade. Some of them are second, and some of them moved on to third. But I have they it was the best memories because we were just all clumped in together, and those parents knew that it was a lot of craziness going on, but they learned so much, and they were the best group of students. I adored them. And my second year was probably my best memories because I learned so much. I prayed a lot. I was like, Lord, please help me through this year because I was only 23 and I had 23 students that I was like, we can't fit in this classroom size. Luckily, they gave me 2 classrooms by like December because I was like, we are just kind of fitting like sardines in here. So I need them to move. We don't sit in a desk all day like 6th graders or 7th graders. My 5-year-olds need to move and jump and
Right,
learn. They
exactly.
learn through movement. They learn through jumping. They learn through everything. So that was probably some of my best memories was that. And also I've had so many amazing parents. I have heard stories from other teachers and colleagues where I'm like, I'm so thankful for my parents because the parents you have had kind of scare me a little bit. But and a lot of people ask me, we just think K-5 parents are like helicopter parents. Well, I've had those, but they're also like super kind and they just wanna know everything. So I just love the relationships that I have made, and it's sad to see them go in May, but also it's like bittersweet because it's like, okay, we have a little break and I prepared you and you passed the test, you did great on the achievement test, you're ready for first grade, but also you're like, we're together for like 9 months out of the year and we're together for like 6.5 hours, 7 hours. So that's what's hard is you're like, "Oh,
Right?
you just get to leave me? Like, and you get to go to first grade?
Boom, it's over.
It's
Yeah,
over."
it comes to a
And
fast end.
yes, the best memories were just the relationships and just all the little things that I can look back over the years with pictures and videos and just everything that I can see that I have made for kindergarten parents to watch at the graduation, and it's just amazing to see how much they have grown.
Right. They have a
Those were
lot of school ahead of them, so it's a
they do.
really good time to love school, so we can
Yes,
set that
yes,
straight. Okay, let's
yes.
talk classroom management. So thinking about how you planned to run your classroom when you were a student, and then how you actually ran your classroom when you got started, are there any areas that you have changed since both your planning and then when you first started out? Talk to us about classroom management.
Oh, absolutely. I have changed so many plans. So I've changed a lot of just like kids' learning styles change. My teachers' different styles have changed, and I've thrown stuff out, brought some in, and been like, I'm not going to use that anymore. When I first started, I was very not crazy, but I was very by the book and very just wanted to make sure I was hitting every target, everything I could throughout the day. Of those 7 hours they're with me, I was like, I want to make sure they are getting the best education, especially at a Christian school where their parents are paying for them to come. So I feel like that's not added pressure, just it's more pressure to just not be perfect. Just it's like, oh,
Sure.
as a
It's an
teacher,
investment.
yeah,
Yeah.
you feel like, wow, these parents really entrusted me with their money, their time, their children, which is the most precious thing, and I just need to do my best. So I feel like that has changed for me looking at it now where I still do my best, but I also am like, man, they just want to look at me and they want to just say, hey, Miss H, I just want to do what you want me to do. I just want your style to be my style. I want you to help me how you want to. And my as I came in from when I was a student at Bob Jones, I had millions of notebooks filled with tons of knowledge, tons of notes. I was the note highlighter taking girl. I loved
Pink, I'm
doing
guessing.
yes, tons of colors. I loved doing the highlighters. I loved doing the classes where I can make PowerPoints and they would say, we're doing a project. I'd much rather do a project than a paper. I excelled on those. I was like, wow. Papers, I was like, I'm not going to probably make an A. I might make a B, but I'm not going to make an A. But when I was in college, I did a lot. So I was just all in. And as I went into my first year, I was all in. I was like, I'm taking everything that I've learned. My second, third, fourth, fifth year, I was like, okay, I'm all in, but I don't need to do every Pinterest board that comes on my TV or my phone. Every little thing I see in Dollar Tree that I'm like, oh, let me use this. Because that was one of my big things. And my mom and my friends would be like, if you buy one more thing for your classroom, I think it might explode. It looks like Hobby Lobby exploded in it. And I'm like, I know.
You
I
need a
just
room
want
edition at least.
Yes. I'm like, I just want them to have so much fun. And I realized I could go outside and get a stick and say, this is my magic stick for the day. And those 5-year-olds would be like, we love the magic stick. And it was the little things that I just took away. And then I was like, ooh, I'm going to add these in. So I took a lot away my second, third, fourth, and fifth grade year. And then I added more educational stuff or educational games, educational manipulatives. Instead of having the toys that I had, I would make sure I would say, oh, I love these toys, but we're going to use these for recess. And these are for our morning tubs. When we come in the morning, you can use the morning tubs, which are all sensory, educational, all the fun things that go back to education instead of just saying, oh, okay, grab a toy, grab a book. And when they first start K-5, they can't read. So some of them can. So instead of saying, oh, just grab a book and look at the pictures, that wasn't helping them. That was just, oh, let's look at some pictures. By
Right.
educational toys that I had gotten, I was like, oh, my second, third, fourth, and fifth grade or fifth year, I was like, okay, and I've just seen my students grow and grow and grow starting from
Yeah, much more
August. And
intentional.
very, very, but that's a good word to use, is very intentional. And I was like, wow, even if just this toy is, or this little manipulative, or these papers, these worksheets, fun worksheets, we're going to implement those more instead of just the fun. Because throughout college, I think I was just the fun. It definitely changed, but it grew throughout the years. Like it just grew. And I loved being able to see the kids going from, oh, I'm just going to play with some toys, or no, Miss H, I would love to play with those numbers and count by tens. I would love to play with those little toys where I can count by fives and twos. And they would grow. And by September,
Right.
October, I would just see the little light bulbs go off. And I was like, this is where my little niche is, where I can
Right.
this is what I love.
That's great.
So, yes.
Okay, talk to us about relationships with parents. So what were your expectations on that? And what would you say are some takeaways as you've learned to maneuver those relationships with parents?
Right, of course. So when I first started with my school, I was very nervous about meeting parents, and they're in their 20s, 30s, late 20s, early 30s, or sometimes 40s, and they're looking at a 22, 23-year-old like, Miss H, we trust you impeccably. I've never had a parent that I've been like, oh, I'm kind of scared of them, or they just bother me. I've been blessed with very good parents over my last 5 years. My first encounter when I had a parent, a lot of people always worry that K-5 parents are helicopters, which they are, because they're just learning, and they're learning with me and I'm learning with them. And I always tell them that as I'm walking with you, we're walking together, and we're a team, and I'm not greater, you're not greater. I'm looking at you because you have the home life and I have them for 7 hours. So we're just walking together, and I'm on your team. We're on a team together, just like with your student. Throughout the years, I've had difficult students, so that is harder because a lot of times their backgrounds are harder. And that is probably the most challenging, is when I have the parents who come from a harder background, or they're just having difficulties with different things in their families, or just outside problems. And then it affects their kids very much. So when they come in the classroom, they are just falling to pieces, or they might have about 5 meltdowns a day. And whereas I have my other 14 who are on the straight and narrow bus. And then I have my struggle bus friends who are just kind of like, Miss H, I don't mean to take it out on you, but you're the only one that is showing me love, or showing me kindness, or I just really want all your attention. And I love meeting with parents. At first, when I first started, I was very scared to meet with parents. I was like, I don't know if I'm, like, good enough to meet with these amazing parents who've had kids, and some of them had 5 kids, 6 kids, 2 kids, 3 kids. Some of them had just their own that was their only baby, and that was like, "Okay, Miss H, we are trusting you with our most precious child, and we're dedicated our child to the Lord. Now I had one parent tell me, "I'm dedicating my child to you now," and I'm like, "Oh my goodness." So you
And no
feel that.
pressure.
Yes, no pressure at all. So I am just like, okay, so my first year, I was very timid and I was very more on the shy side. And everybody looks at me and they're like, I don't know how you could be shy or
You're not
timid.
seeing it, Cassidy, not
Yeah.
seeing it.
You talk all the time and you love people. And I said, I think it was again, I had so much pressure on myself and for these parents that a lot of times I would tell them, but I was like, I mean, I should have added a little bit more detail. Or I should have said, hey, I think your child would grow in this area, but they're kind of just lacking in these areas. Where I would not do the sandwich method. The good, kind of mix, we'll do the bad and the good. I would kind of just do good, 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 a little bad, good, 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 good. And I was like, man, I struggled with that my first year because I was just so worried. And I was thinking of the child, but I was so worried that I was going to say something
Sure.
wrong. And I
Yeah,
wasn't just
I think
talking
that's
to
very
them.
normal.
Yes. I wasn't talking to them just like they're another human being and they're another Christian. And they just want to know that their child is doing the right thing for me and for the Lord and for the school. And so as I grew and became a teacher, I feel like I've grown so much with talking with parents. I've just kind of laid it out. And I was like, I just love talking to parents. I love getting their perspective. I love them telling me, hey, Miss H, they might have a problem with me, or they might say, this is not working for us. Could you help us? And
Yeah, good
I have,
insight.
right. I love getting their insight and they love hearing mine, which I am so appreciative when I have parents say, we just want to hear from you and we are on your side 24/7. And that's the best thing to hear as a teacher is that you know that parent, they might have a question or they might question you on things, but they're going to say, "Hey, we defend you and we love you and we just want to be on the side with you."
Okay, so as teachers maneuver those first couple years and then they kind of get settled in, they often find resources, tools, strategies that really help them. What would you say? Did you have any go-to helps that were really, your go-tos as you maneuvered those first few years? What do you think?
Right. As I said before, I've learned so much. So we use so many different things online, and we learned that you just don't have to stand in front of the classroom and teach. And I love doing that. I love standing. I love moving. I'm moving all day long. I like sitting at my desk, but when the kids aren't here is when I can sit down. So I love when I can just go around the room. I have my classroom set in a way of where I am just moving all over around. There's no things in the way or desk or feet. They're all in little huddles together. And, a lot of things that I have learned is, especially, I love to use there's different things, PowerPoints. I love when the kids can go to the board and touch it, especially if you have a Promethean board. I love when they can just go to and grab, like I said before, manipulatives. I've got a lot this year from Lakeshore, and
Oh,
I
yeah.
just yes,
Great
and
resources.
yes, I have so many amazing things that I have got from them. I have morning tubs, I have little things that they can go and they have stations, reading centers, and as they're getting older and they go into first grade or whatever, they are learning to read. So they just want to read all the time now because their brains are just opening and going crazy. But I love using those type of manipulatives. I love doing things with their hands. I love when they have to sit and do worksheets, but I realized quickly that worksheets are not the same as when I was 22 and I first started teaching. Now in 2025, worksheets are so fun in the curriculum and we get it all done. But there's a lot of times during phonics and numbers where I'm like, we're just going to stand up and we're going to do a Kahoot game. I've used it for the past couple of years as Class Dojo. And they love to be the little monster and they love to see their monster go up. And if they can see it go down because I'm a very visual learner. And as kindergartners, they are very visual learners. They want to
Sure.
see if they're doing great or if they're just not on the ball today. And I have my first year, I started it and I've kept it all throughout my years. They each have buckets with their names on it and they're all different like flowers or they're snakes and lions and tigers and they get to earn pom-poms or they get to earn coins. Right now, at the end of the year we do bunny bucks because bunnies come out in spring and
Oh, yes.
summer. So they love to put the bunny bucks in their buckets. And by the end of the week, if they have 10, they get a prize, and it helps them with counting. And they take away subtraction. Oh, I lost 2 today because I wasn't on the ball. So 10 minus 2, 8. Or I had 15 in my bucket and I lost 3. So it helps them with the numbers. I love putting numbers and I love putting phonics in their prizes in their game so they're incorporating. They don't even realize they're doing it. So I love doing all the manipulatives and all the fun worksheets. We even have the simple thing as stencils. We have a light that we use, and they can draw stencils through it, and they can see their wells move, and it kind of is 3D, so they can build things with these little magic little clay things. So I love anything like that, going to different workshops and seeing different teachers and do things. I've just implemented so much more into my classroom because I quickly realized that kindergartners love their hands and they love doing anything sensory, and they love doing
Yeah,
their
and active.
motor skills. Yes, very different from doing middle school, high school. They're like, we don't want to use our hands today.
Right, yeah.
Kindergartners are like, please let me use my hands.
Right.
Anything, yes, anything to keep me busy. So, and I love doing a lot of fidget spinners and little things they can touch and the bubbles, not necessarily during class time, but when they are having a break or seat work, they can have a little thing by their buckets, by their seats, and they just love to touch them while they're working. And it amazes me is how many students nowadays, they can touch a million things, but their handwriting is still perfect or their phonics is still great. They just needed that little extra touch and that
Yeah,
little
keeps
extra
them engaged.
movement.
Yeah.
Yes, I love anything engaging is my favorite thing.
That's so good. Okay, so talk to us about stress. So it's inevitable at times, and especially for new teachers. There is so much to prepare. There's new material to learn, resources to make, a room to decorate. It just never stops. And honestly, it can just be super overwhelming. I remember feeling like, just stop the semester. I just need to catch my breath for one day. Okay, so how did you navigate that? What did you face when you were really stressed? How was the stress for you?
Yes. When I first started, the stress was probably on like 1,000. And now
Mm,
my stress when I start, I still have a little stress like, okay, but it's probably at like a 10 now because I feel
mm,
so comfortable. So when you're coming as a new teacher, I totally understand that because I was that same girl a couple years ago. And now I'm like, wow, I feel like I'm like grown into a woman. Even though I was a woman, I'm like went from girl to woman as a teacher because as when I first started, I the stress was, oh my goodness, it was crazy. I was like, the seats have to be perfect. When they come in, the students have to get their packet. The parents have to know everything from car line to what they can heat up in their lunch boxes or what is our hot lunch days look like. It was very detailed and it still is. But a lot of times now my second, third, and fourth, and fifth year, I just was like, wow, I'm taking some of the stuff back and I'm implementing the stuff that's just the basics because these parents just want to know the little things. So my stress went from very high to very low quickly. I still have moments, especially because I do kindergarten, so I'm in charge of kindergarten graduation. So that is where the stress kicks in a little higher. But when you first start teaching, it goes down and down. I feel like as the months go on, because you realize you come into your classroom, you're becoming what your classroom is. So if I
right.
want to take something down, I don't have to go, hey, should I take it down? I can, well, I'm just going to take it down, which I love that. As a student teacher, when you're a senior in college, everything is, should I do this? Let me go
Right.
to my mentor and ask for permission. Let me see if this is good or not, because you're learning. And I feel like I am still learning, but a lot of times now it's like, well, it's all on me. And I can just say, hey, I
Yeah.
want to take this down. So the stress becomes very, very less. When the kids start back in August, I always feel that
Sure.
stress again,
Sure.
but it always dwindles each year. I'm sure when I start my next year in my 6th year, I'm sure I will be a little less stressed. But
Right.
I love seeing myself going from super stressed to, oh, it's not a big deal. And even my colleagues around me will go, wow, this is not as stressful to you anymore. And I'm like, no, I'm actually getting the hang of it. I can do this. And your confidence goes up.
Yes, which is a huge blessing for those who are listening who are about to start teaching and you feel like,
Yes,
I won't be able. It does get better. And I love
it
what you said
does.
too about preparation, because when you're not prepared, you're asking for a stressful day because, those students don't wait on you while you get yourself prepared. So I'm glad that you pointed that out. So teaching can naturally feel really siloed. You're working in your classroom, you work like crazy. Most people don't even know all that you're putting into it. Sometimes we have a team or a classroom neighbor, but having someone as your go-to is really vital. So I wondered, as you got started, did you have a mentor or did you have someone who was a help to you? I know your parents were teachers, but was there anyone else who was a help and support to you that maybe others who are listening might say, ooh, that'd be a really good idea?
A lot of my friends were all teachers, so we all heavily depended on each other when we all went. Some of my friends went into public school, some of them went to even just a small charter school, some of them went to a massive Christian or super small Christian school. And so we would always have that little group chat where it was, oh, how should I handle the situation? How would you do it? How would you do it? So I love having my age type of mentor, but I
Right.
also had older people to help me that have been teaching, I feel like, for like 70 years, and you're just look at them like, wow, you are amazing. Because I still have that to this day. I'm looking at people going, you are incredible. Like, how you are such a great teacher, and you've kept your calm and your patience, and everyone loves you. And then I have my age friends who are going through kids that are different, because
Right.
nowadays kids are not what we had in 2021.
Absolutely not.
So they are realizing, hey, we are just struggling with the same thing. And then I have my older friends who are maybe teaching for 20 or 30 plus years, where they're like, try this, or let me throw this in there. I learned this. And it's not that they're just saying, hey, you need to fix this. They're just, let me throw an idea out there for
Sure.
you.
Yeah.
I love
Wisdom.
hearing, yes, I love hearing ideas, and I love people saying, hey, let's try this or do this better.
Yeah.
So those are
That's
my,
fantastic. No, I
yes.
love it. Great advice. Okay, so I know we're running close on time, but I just want to ask you just a couple more things. So with a couple years in the books, what would you say would be the biggest lesson you have learned in your first few years? What would you wrap it up with saying?
Yes. My biggest lesson that I have learned is take time to just have the small moments, because all day you're doing the big moments, the big phonics, the big numbers, the big reading groups. Everything is big. Just take time for the small moments. Don't stress. Have fun with your kids. Have so much fun with them, because they're just looking at you as, Miss H, we want to have fun with you as a teacher, but we also just want to be your best friend. We want to be your friend to you. We don't want to treat them like, hey, buddy, buddy, but we want to make sure, hey, we just want to know your favorite color. We want to know what's your favorite food. And a lot of times it's just, those are my biggest things that I have taken away from my 5 years is have fun with your kids, be firm and be strict on things, but also just talk to them. They're just little humans. I've been a lot of like stricter when it comes to school things. So when I come in the classroom, I'm like, okay, we got to get this done, this done, this done. But then I just like, we're just, and they think it's the most amazing thing when I say, we're just going to throw that out today. We're just going to
Oh,
skip
yeah.
that. And they're like, oh my goodness, you can
Best
do
day
that?
ever.
Yeah. And a lot of them like, did you ask permission from your mom to do that? They'll just,
Right.
they just don't, they're like, wow, you could do that? You're allowed? So it's just fun to see their eyes and their brains open to, oh, not everything is, oh, we have to make this 100 or this A or this B, or we're not going to go to first grade or third grade or fifth grade. It's just the little things. Even as a young teacher or as an older teacher, it's good to implement let's just move a little bit. Let's just get outside. Let's just look outside the classroom. I love having a box, and then you open the box and you're like, look how many things you can go when you're outside the box or do.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Okay, so as we wrap up, we have a variety of listeners from veteran teachers to teachers in training. What advice would you give to, first of all, a new teacher? So we have some of those who are getting ready to start for the very first time. And second of all, to those who are going to be working with a new teacher. What would you say to them as we wrap up this episode?
I, as one of those that had worked with new teacher, and then I became the new teacher, and now I'm kind of like the middle ground teacher of not too old and not too young, just in the middle. My advice to you is just go in with a big heart, have so much fun, just go in there and just want to learn as much as you can, because as you're learning, your students are learning. So you never want to just, like I said, just stay stagnant and just, I just don't want to do this today. And my biggest advice is just have fun, come in, give it all you can. There's going to be so many days, just like if I had, where you're like, I don't think I can get up this morning, and I really don't know if I can do my best. But when you come in and you see those faces and they just want to look at you and say, I just want to learn, and I just want to jump around and have so much fun. And you just realize, wow, this is what the Lord made me to do. This is what I need to do, and this is what I'm going to do. And that has helped me the most, is those three things of have fun, don't put too much pressure on yourself, and just give it your all.
Sure. That's
Yes.
excellent. Cassidy, thank you so much for pulling back the curtain and sharing your experience with us. It was great. Even listening to you today brought back so many memories. And though my first years were 20 some years ago, they are still fresh when I hear these stories talked about. So kudos to you for pushing through. So many new teachers walk away, but kudos to you for sticking with it. It's been so fun having you on the show today. I'm confident our listeners feel the same. Thank you so much again for your time today.
Yes, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I loved it. And I hope you guys can learn something from it because I learned something through all my years. So I was an honor and a privilege to be here. Thank you.
Well, I am confident that they learned from it. Listeners, thank you so much for joining us as well. I hope you were challenged and encouraged as I was. Remember to go to teachereditionpodcast.com to learn more about the show and to submit questions for our upcoming episodes. Of course, be sure to subscribe to the podcast and follow us on social media. Now, it's time to get back to your day, but it's not just any day, because every day in the classroom is your day to impact and inspire through God's power and through His grace working in you. Now go do what God has called you to do.